Let's turn to business news now with Jonathan Mitchell. Jonathan, beaming in from Wellington. Hi, Jono. A solid trade surplus in the month of December. Those figures just out. What was behind that?
Good evening, John. Yeah, a strong surplus, as you say, of $640 million. That was in the month of December. Above market expectations and the strongest monthly surplus since early 2015, really led by record levels of export values, driven by commodities such as whole milk powder, butter and cheese. On the other side, imports fell from November, so really led by exports. This trade survey can bounce around month to month, really depends on whether we import a big value item. You know, in November we had a big plane come in, so it does tend to bounce around. But earlier today I spoke with Michael Gordon, he's a senior economist at Westpac Bank, said the dairy gains were good, but they might be short-lived given the volatility in the dairy sector. But overall, he says there is demand for New Zealand exports.
The outlook for prices is pretty reasonable for a lot of agricultural exports. The world economy is growing and the pace of growth is picking up, so it's probably about the best it's been in a decade, although having said that, it's still not up to the growth rates it was prior to the financial crisis. But the general picture's improving, and that's encouraging for demand for a lot of the things that we export, especially when we're seeing quite a notable pickup in areas like Europe, which have been quite depressed for some time. Things are really picking up there, and that's quite an important market for, not really for dairy, but more for things like meat. So that's really suggesting some reasonably broad-based strength in demand for the things that New Zealand produces.
So that's Michael Gordon from Westpac Bank. John, now he's saying the annual deficit, there was a deficit in the year to December, that shrunk to $2.8 billion. He's expecting that to shrink even further.
Let's stay outdoors. Honey company Comvita, they made some kind of a announcement today. I saw it come into my email inbox, but unlike me, you actually read it, Jono.
Well, yeah, as we've been hearing from Ian, who's also outdoors, the negative effects of the hot weather on farmers. But for honey producers, it's good news. There's good levels of nectar out there, and on top of that, there's solid demand from China. So combined, Comvita has put out its forecast for a half year of full year profit expectations, expecting to beat last year's $3 million for the half year, and on a full year basis get to more than $17 million. So that's a turnaround from the negative press we've been hearing about the bee industry, you know, the poor harvest from last year.
What happened on the markets today, Jono?
The top 50 index fell 29 points, just under 8,300. A Kiwi dollar 73.3 US cents, 90.7 Australian.
Jonathan Mitchell with Business out of Wellington. Thank you very much indeed.